start that, and we're
gonna... You may have a little message pop up.
Yeah, you'll have to mark got it.
And then I'll mute everybody, and you guys are going to present. We're going to have to unmute.
Okay, you go ahead and mute us all, Scott, and okay, can everybody hear me? Wave. Okay, wanted to make sure because it came up with a message that, and I thought, no, I did unmute. So, okay. As you came in, you heard that we muted all of you. And then if you want to ask questions, Jeannie during her presentation will be asking for some input and stuff. So then you'll have to unmute you. But please remute yourself as soon as you can after you ask or answer, because the background noise causes problems for everyone to hear. So we appreciate you being here, and we would just ask that you help us out with not having the background noise. Good afternoon, good evening. Some of you are in afternoon time. Some of us are in the evening time, depending upon your time zone. Welcome to everyone to our winter break Zoom meeting. And it's great to have so many of you sign up for this new event. And just think, you only had to power up the computer, turn on the video and the audio. Then you were able to join your fellow FCE members and friends. If it is cold, snowy, icy, or windy, these elements are outside, but inside we are warm and enjoying FCE fellowship over the computer. FCE friends are people of great understanding who share all of our hopes, a companion who listens with infinite patience to all of our plans and dreams, a person who can make all of our cares melt away with the touch of a hand or a smile, but with calm reassurance make everything brighter. They share so many bright moments of laughter at the smallest thing, provide memorable hours of lighthearted gladness and pleasure this sharing can bring. FCE friends are someone to treasure deep down in our hearts with the closeness that grows through the years. I hope all of you received your handouts. And so because some of them will be being used this evening. And at this time, we are going to start with the first presentation, which will be by Jean Purridge. And she will introduce herself and her topic. Jean, it's all yours. Hi, you're muted.
All right, there we go. Now can you hear?
Now we can hear you.
Fantastic. That is wonderful. See, when you do it right, let's see. Oh, oops, see, we didn't do it quite right. All right. Good afternoon, good evening, people. How are you? My name is Jeannie Purridge, and I am the National FCE Secretary. So really, how are you? How have you been during these past, 30 months now, 35 months during COVID? Everybody feeling great? I would guess not. Our talk today is going to be on mental health, depression, suicide, and social well-being. And these past 30 some months has been very, very trying for most people. So we're going to try to go over some aspects of mental health and mental illness, give you some tips of what you might be able to do, and guide you if you're needing more help, where to go for that kind of help. So what is mental health? Mental health is an important part of your overall health and well-being. Mental health includes our emotional, our psychological, and our social well-being. It affects how we think, it affects what we do, it affects how we act. It also determines how we handle stress, relate to others, and make other healthy choices. What is mental illness. Now, remember the first slide said mental health. This one says mental illness. There is a difference. So mental health is your overall well-being, but mental illness are conditions that affect a person's thinking, feeling, mood, or behavior. We all have our moods and our thinking and our behavior, but when something affects that, that runs into mental illness. There's all types of mental illness, and here we have this poor child with all these things running around in their brain: depression, stress, fear, paranoia, ADHD. Not all of those things come out at one time, thank goodness. Maybe somebody doesn't get any of those things and they just get the perfectly beautiful red hearts. But when we have mental illness, these are the general categories that is mental illness. So if all of you received, when you received your Zoom link, you also received a mental health quiz. Did you have time to do that? I hope. If not, can you pull it out now and we will go over it? So I'm going to ask the questions and then I'm going to ask somebody to unmute themselves and answer, please. So the first question is, poor mental health increases the risk for long-lasting physical conditions like heart disease, stroke, cancer, or all of the above. Would someone just unmute and give an answer? No, you're not all shy. Let's go.
It's number
All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above.
above.
That is correct. All of the above. Mental illnesses are very common, not very common, fairly common.
Very common.
Yes, very, very, very common. We certainly would hope that they would be not very common, but they are very common. Suicide is the blank leading cause of death among people ages 15 to 34 in the US.
Second.
Second, that is correct. Scary statistic, in my opinion. That's a scary statistic. Mental illness cannot be treated or can be treated.
Can be treated.
Can be treated. Yes, and we have a lot of new ways to treat mental illness now, so that is very helpful. Mental health is more than the absence of mental disorders, or B, only important for some people, or an important part of overall health and well-being.
It's an important part of overall health and well-being.
That is correct. Very good. Number 6, if you know someone with poor mental health, you can help by reaching out and letting them know help is available, helping them access mental health services, or learning and sharing the facts about mental health, especially if you hear something that isn't true, or all of the above.
All
the above.
All the above. Oh, right. You guys are smart. People with mental illnesses are violent. True or false?
False.
False. It is false. Most people with mental illnesses are not violent. I know we have all seen on TV where someone is having a mental health crisis and they've called the police and it gets escalated, and unfortunately a lot of times bad things happen. That is not the norm. The norm is that most people with mental illnesses are not violent. Half of all mental illness occurs before a person turns blank years old, and 3/4 of mental illnesses begin before the age of 24.
14.
14 is
years.
yeah, 14 years is correct. Serious mental illness costs America how much in lost earnings per year? 193.2 billion, that's with a B, 20 million, 400 billion with a B, or 1 billion in lost earnings per year.
143 point whatever billion.
193.2. That is correct. That is correct. That is just a staggering amount of money when you think about it, because it's lost earnings. And so if your earnings are lost, it means you are not out buying things, which means somebody else's earnings are also lost. So, mental illness is caused by personal weakness, lack of willpower, or a number of factors, including biological factors and long-lasting health conditions such as heart disease and or cancer.
B.
That last
Number of factors.
Yes, it is C. So it's not a personal weakness. It's not a lack of willpower. It's not because somebody's lazy. It's because of a lot of other factors that affect one's mental health. All right. So there are lots of different types of mental illness, and we're going to go over a few of those here. Anxiety disorders. Now, I think all of us have been anxious at one time or another. I was anxious to start this Zoom meeting, especially the one this afternoon when I hadn't done it before on Zoom, and I wasn't sure how it was going to go. But it did go well. So I wasn't as anxious this evening as I was this afternoon. But we all have had anxiety over time. It's when the anxiety becomes overwhelming that it becomes a mental illness. Attention deficit or hyperactivity disorder. We see this typically in children. They can't pay attention in school. They can't sit still. They get tested, and this is their diagnosis. We have a lot more ways of treating this type of thing, and a lot more ways of giving these students coping skills. But one of the things that we didn't know for a very long time is that we thought this sort of kids sort of grew out of it. And by the time they were 18 or 19 years old, they really didn't suffer from attention deficit or hyperactivity disorder. And that is false. We now know that many adults also suffer from this condition, but we also know that as adults, they can be treated with medications or with therapy, or again, I talked about getting certain coping skills to help them deal with their hyperactivity. Disruptive behavior disorders. That's a little different than the attention deficit, a hyperactivity disorder. And that's a pattern of disruptive behavior in children that lasts for over 6 months. And of course, it does cause problems in school or at home in social situations. And again, these problems can also continue into adulthood. Depression and other mood disorders. I think we've all been depressed from time to time, and probably in these last almost 3 years, we've probably been depressed more than any other times in our lives. It's hard being isolated, not seeing people, and not being able to get out and do your normal things. So depression, even without pandemic, without COVID, is a very common illness, and comes from many different types of stressors in our lives. It's estimated that 1 in 10 adults suffer from some type of mood disorder, with the most common being depression and bipolar disorder. Eating disorders, and eating disorders include anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating. You may have known somebody that's anorexic. You may have known somebody that binge eats or that just can't stop eating. A lot of times these disorders start in adolescents, young adolescents, preteens, and a lot of times it's because someone has said something to them about their looks. Mm-hmm. Maybe that person wasn't trying to be mean, maybe they were teasing, maybe some general conversation was going on and a comment was made. But those types of comments are the leading cause of eating disorders in young people, teens and preteens and teens. So it's just one of the things you have to remember, no matter what you're dealing with, is your words, and words can hurt. And here is a great example of where a very simple several words can cause a lifelong mental illness. Personality disorders. Personality disorders are those that people are inflexible in their in what they're doing. We think of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, is a personality disorder. Somebody that always has to have their drink on the left side of the computer screen, or they have to place the fork to the left of the plate instead of or to the right of the plate instead of the left, or they have to walk around the dining room table 3 times, or they have to wash their hands excessively. Those are types of obsessive compulsive disorders, and they go into this personality disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. We didn't hear a lot about PTSD until after the Vietnam War, and certainly we heard more about it after the Afghanistan wars. PTSD was always present, but after World War I and World War II, it wasn't called PTSD, it was called shell shock. And you might have heard your parents talking about that somebody came back from the war and they were shell shocked. They were suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD doesn't just happen with military, with people in uniform. It can happen after a sexual assault, a robbery, you get beat up, things like that. That can also trigger PTSD. So it's not just a military issue. Schizophrenia syndrome. Unfortunately, the movies have done a great job on showing schizophrenic patients running around, talking crazy, yelling, screaming, taking off their clothes, and not being in the real world at the moment. That's not really typical. There are sometimes where a schizophrenic break will cause that, but normally it's just kind of living in an alternative world. They're just not really sure where they are and what they're doing at the time. Other psychological orders, psychotic orders, we think of the neurotic and the psychotic. And in those cases, my background is nursing, and in nursing school, we were taught that the difference between a neurotic and a psychotic was a neurotic built castles in the sky, but the psychotic lived in them. So we all sometimes become a little neurotic at something we do, or we try to, I think part of that is we try to control our surroundings, and sometimes we can be a little more neurotic than maybe we should be. Substance use disorders. You have all heard about the opioid problem. Substance use also goes with alcohol, goes with heroin, LSD. Marijuana isn't such a big issue right now since it's become legalized, that people aren't going out and getting overdoses of it. But any type of those types of things, alcohol, drugs, prescription painkillers certainly go into this category. And it's one of those things that you don't know which came first, the abuse of the drug or the mental illness that caused the abuse of the drug, or the drug because caused the mental illness. Mental health and overall health. Mental illness, especially depression, increases the risk for many types of physical health problems, particularly long-lasting conditions like stroke, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. And I want to ask somebody, why do you think that is? Could somebody unmute themselves and tell me why you think that mental illness, especially depression, would increase physical health problems?
Well, if you're diabetic, sometimes that really causes you to realize that you've got to cut back on the carbs and the sweets, and you have to change your lifestyle. And that maybe could cause some depression, correct? Is that right?
It could, But what about
the reverse, that with having those things, you'd be less likely to take care of yourself?
Yes, that is what I was looking for. That is, so if you're depressed, you don't feel like doing things, so you don't feel like making a nice healthy meal for yourself with the nice vegetables and fruits and things like that. You don't feel like going out for a walk, which will help your heart and lower your blood pressure, which will then maybe decrease a stroke possibility. And one of the other things that we tend to do with depression is we like comfort food. We like those carbs. We like the pint of ice cream. You know, you see it on the sitcoms when there's been a breakup. What do? They go to the freezer and get that pint of ice cream and sit on the couch and eat it. Those kinds of things repeated over and over again can cause these types of health issues and problems. Can mental health change in time? Do you think you can change your mental health? Yes, you can change your mental health. But how do you do that? How do you change your mental health? Let me, sorry, I just had to look at my notes a minute. How do you change your mental health? You change it by finding out things that cause your mental health and what you can do about it. There's no single cause for mental illness. But there are factors that can contribute to mental illness. Early life adverse experiences such as trauma or a history of abuse. It also goes back to what I said about with the eating disorders. Somebody just says a word or two about somebody's size or figure or whatever, and it causes a whole lifetime worth of anorexia or bulimia or something like that. So our experiences, what we have, good or bad, can influence our mental health. Experiences related to ongoing chronic medical conditions such as cancer and diabetes. Certainly, if you weren't depressed and you have cancer, you have a diagnosis of cancer, you're probably going to be depressed. You're going to be depressed not only because you have cancer, but because the therapy, the treatment for cancer can be very rigorous and it can make you not feel good. So you have another thing to worry about, not only your cancer, but now the medication that is supposed to help you to cure your cancer is making you ill. We've come a long way in cancer therapies, I have to say gratefully. And a lot of the cancer therapies are not doesn't have the side effects that the old cancer therapies had. We are learning much more about how to treat cancer and what dosages to get. So those kinds of effects are better. You're not getting as many, but you're still getting them. And anytime when you don't feel good and you can't do what you want, you get depressed. So it's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle between the medical condition, the actual health condition, and your mental condition. Biological factors such as genes or chemical imbalances in the brain. We know a lot about genes these days. And I think every cancer patient probably gets a genetic test done to see what genes are there or not there. You have all heard about BRCA1 and BRCA2, very common genes that people have if they have breast cancer, especially early breast cancer. Those genes, BRCA1 gene also is prevalent in pancreatic cancer. We're learning how to get a patch into the gene that's defective. And when we can get that patch into that right gene, then your condition is treated at that time. Chemical imbalances in the brain. The brain, this is where schizophrenia comes involved, because there's the chemical balances in the brain are off, and you don't have the right chemicals, or you don't have enough of one or too much of something. And there's where the schizophrenias come in that kind of thing. But the brain also has a wonderful chemical in it called endorphins. And the more endorphins you have, the better you feel. And the better you feel, the less depressed you are. So the more you do what you're supposed to be doing to take care of yourself for physical health. So anything you can do to increase your endorphins is a really, really good thing. And we're going to talk about how we can do that in a minute. Use of alcohol or recreational drugs. We briefly talked on that at the slide before. Any of those kinds of things, the more alcohol you take in, the more recreational drugs you take in, the more the need is there, the effect is there, the more depressed you get because you know you need the drugs, but you shouldn't be doing it, the more stress you have. And again, it just turns into a very vicious cycle. I like these two, to take these two together. Having few friends, having a feeling of loneliness or isolation. And goes down to this pandemic. During the pandemic, when we could not see our friends, we could not see our relatives, we could not be with them, we could not touch them. This really contributed to a great increase of depression during this time period and suicide during this time period. I know for myself, when COVID started back in the day, and we were totally isolating and not seeing anybody. So from February to Mother's Day, I did not see my son or daughter-in-law or my 2 grandchildren except on FaceTime. I did not see them in person till Mother's Day. And they came and knocked on the door and ran back into the yard. And my husband and I came to the door and opened the door and we waved. Hi, how are you? Yeah, we're doing fine. Oh, thank you for the gift. And that was it. That was hard. That was really hard not to give them a hug, not to hold them, not to really see them. They had their masks on. We had our masks on, even though we were 7 feet apart and things like that. But you didn't know what was really going to happen with COVID. And there were so many people in the hospital and so many people were very, very sick with it. You wanted to be as safe as possible. But that was a real feeling of loneliness and isolation. And you know, I had a husband, so I saw somebody every day and talked to somebody every day. What about the people that didn't have that? You know, and didn't reach out either because they didn't have the means or couldn't or didn't think they should, didn't think it was important. This is a real problem that leads to mental illness. Natural disasters. Think about the people in California and Oregon and Colorado that had the fires this past year that were horrendous, that took whole towns, took everything that they had. Think of the stress and the anxiety that caused. Think about the fact that also then caused financial changes. The pandemic caused financial changes. People lost their jobs. And when you could go back to your job, a lot of them didn't have a job to go back to. Restaurants closed, dry cleaners closed, parks closed, other things closed that didn't open back up because they had lost their employees and they had lost business and people weren't coming back to the business. All of those factors can really contribute to mental illness. How common are mental illnesses? More than 50% will be diagnosed with a mental illness at some point in their lifetime. That's a lot of people. 1 in 5 Americans will experience a mental illness in a given year. So 1 in 5. So if we were in a classroom and you were sitting in a row and 5 people were next to you, one of you will experience a mental illness this year. 1 in 5 children, either currently or at some point during their lifetime, have had a serious, debilitating mental illness. That's a frightening statistic to me when we say seriously debilitating mental illness in a child. 1 in 25 Americans live with a serious mental illness, such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or major depression. And I want to read to you, I get a newsletter from an autistic society that just came yesterday, and it had another statistic to add to this part of the talk. Emergency room visits for mental health emergencies among children 5 to 11 increased by 24% in the 2021 timeframe. 5 to 11-year-olds increased by 24%. Children ages 12 to 17, the emergency room visits increased by 31%. And this is a really frightening statistic to my mind. The amount of suspected suicide attempts by girls, and they separated by girls and boys, but they didn't give the boy figure. Suicide attempts by girls ages 12 to 17 increased by more than 50%. In girls 12 to 17, the suicide rate increased by more than 50%. I have my daughter-in-law is a counselor at a middle school here in Montgomery County, Maryland, where I live. And she tells me horrendous stories. But one of the stories that she tells me related to this subject is there is not a week that goes by that somebody in the school has not tried to commit suicide or were successful at it. This is middle school. This is 11 to 13-year-olds. They are under so much stress between the school, between COVID, between having a year and a half of Zoom meetings, bullying, all the things that go on, that they are committing suicide. When did you as a young person ever hear of somebody else as a young person in school committing suicide? We never heard of young people committing suicide and being successful of it, attempting and being successful at it. That's a frightening statistic in my mind. Half of all chronic mental illnesses begin by the age of 14, and 3/4 begin by the age of 24. So there's that statistic, the 14-year-old, the mental illnesses begin by 14. So now what we want to do, let me go back to that one a minute. You got a second handout when you got your Zoom thing, and it was the word scramble. Can you get your word scramble out? And did you have time to do it before now?
Yeah.
So I've given you a lot of really Debbie Downer statistics here. So I want to give you some ways of coping and some things that to think about to help you feel better. So if somebody would unmute themselves and tell me what the first word scramble is.
Breathe.
Breathe, that's right. Just taking a deep breath. Just stop a minute what you're doing and just get up and take a deep breath. It just helps clear the mind. What's the second one?
Color.
Color, that's right. So remember a few years ago, the adult coloring books got so popular, everybody was buying them and buying the colored pencils and the things and doing that. Look at this pretty picture. I hope you still have some. And I hope if you haven't done any in the last year or two, that maybe you pull it out again. It's a great way to relax and just let your mind wander into the colors that you can do. What about the next one?
Dance.
Dance. That's movement. That's getting up and moving. Very important. And it's very important for that thing I told you in your brain, your endorphins. Whenever you move, whenever you dance, whenever you walk, you increase the endorphins in your brain. And the more endorphins that you have, the better off you feel. And the next one?
Draw.
Draw. That's right. So the draw sort of goes down with the color. You can doodle. If you can't draw, that's fine. You can doodle. I had a friend on Facebook just last week, as I went to high school with her, and she posted this beautiful picture of horses that she had drawn. And she said, "Oh, I haven't drawn anything in years, and I just thought I'd sit down and do this." It was gorgeous. And you could tell by what she posted how good she felt. So you can draw anything. You don't have to be an artist. Just doodle. What's the next one?
Feelings.
Feelings. Yes, we all have feelings, and it's really, really important to express them. And if you don't have anybody at home to express them to yourself. Say, I feel sad today. I feel happy today. I feel mad today. But let somebody know how you're feeling. And if you're really feeling bad, you need to do the next scramble.
Mhm.
What is the next
Help.
one? Help. You need to get help. You need to get help. Help can come in the form of a relative, a friend, a neighbor, a clergy, a professional person, but get help. There's nothing to be ashamed of. If you broke your leg, you'd go to the doctor. If you're not thinking clearly, you go to the doctor to get that help. And the next one of my favorites.
Hugs.
Hugs, that's right. We know that touch is very, very important. Again, I told you my background was nursing. It was very important in the hospital to touch the patient, to have physical contact. It is very important that when we can and when it's safe because of the pandemic, to give hugs and to receive hugs. That physical touch is very important. And I don't know whether any of you have any access to newborn babies these days, or have a daughter or son that has a new baby, or a granddaughter or grandson. But one of the things that they're doing in the hospital now is they are having the newborn babies be undressed and have the mother and the dad have their chest undressed and putting the baby on skin to skin. That is the new thing, skin to skin, especially when breastfeeding. So not through the clothes, but skin to skin. So it's that touch. It's that personal feeling is there. What's the next one?
It looks
Silent,
like lentils.
silent,
How about listen?
Oh, listen.
How about listen? So if you got to talk to somebody and you need help, you got to have somebody to listen. But sometimes you just need to listen to yourself as well. So you need to listen. Listen to what your body's telling you. Listen to what your mind is telling you. And the next one?
play,
Play sort of goes along with the dance and things, but play doesn't mean you have to go out and play soccer or basketball or whatever. Just walk around, just skip, just play a game, play cards, do something that you haven't done before or that you don't do routinely. Not only does it relax your mind, but it also makes your mind work in other pathways. And it's always good to build up other pathways because, again, you're building up some of those endorphins. What's the next one?
read,
Read. Yeah. And I'm sure we've all done a lot of reading during this pandemic when we couldn't get out. But my suggestion, and we all have our normal genres that we like to read, be mysteries or romance novels or Westerns or whatever. But try to read something different, something a little outside of what you normally read. Not only will you find it interesting, but again, it'll stimulate your brain and stimulate you to move around a little bit. And the last one in that column?
rest,
Rest is really, really, really important. And a lot of people with mental illnesses, a lot of people during this pandemic have had a lot of trouble sleeping. And rest is one of those things that our bodies need, not just our physical bodies, but our mental bodies, our mind bodies need that kind of rest. So do whatever you can to try to get rest. If you have an Apple phone, there is several apps that you can get at the Apple Store that are sleeping apps. And basically what they do is they play a sound that's loud at the beginning and slowly decreases in decibels. And so if you really lay down and you concentrate on that sound, by the time it gets to inaudible, you will be asleep. But do whatever it is that you need to do. Do you need the room cooler? Do you need a fan on? Do you need lavender scent is supposed to be very calming and things like that. So try to find out what helps you. And the next one.
sing,
How about smile?
Oh, smile.
sing,
Smile?
yeah,
You skip sing.
Oh,
sing,
okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped sing. I'm sorry. I did skip sing. I got so excited about rest. Maybe I need a rest. So sing, yes. So singing, again, you don't have to be good. You can sing in the shower. You can sing in your hallway. Put on those records that you like. Put on that CD. Again, if you've got an iPhone or the other phones, there's so much music you can download. The TV set, if you've got cable, I know on our cable things, we have like probably 8 channels that have music, everything from Western, cowboy music to opera, several different types of opera, Broadway tunes, things like that. So you can turn on that if you don't have a phone to do it on, but get some music on and sing to what you can. And the next one that I tried to jump to, smile. Yes. Smiling was really hard during COVID. Still hard when you're wearing a mask. It is really hard. I find myself smiling a lot. And then I realized, oh, but the person can't see me, but I still smile. It made me feel better. And I was hoping that they would see my little smile lines up in my eyes and would know that I was smiling. So smiling is really important, whether you can see it or not, because it makes you feel better as well. And the last one there,
Talk.
Talk. And talk, again, talk to a friend, talk to a relative, talk to a neighbor, you know, talk to an FCE member, talk to a professional, talk to a clergy, find someone to talk to. If you need to talk, find someone to talk to.
Go out and talk to a fence post or a tree. They'll listen.
That's right. Talk to
No
the
response.
squirrel. Talk to the squirrel. There's been a lot of COVID pets. People have gone out and gotten pets during COVID. Great companions because it's somebody else that you have to think about rather than yourself. So you're turning those feelings outward as opposed to keeping them inward. You know, it's just really important to talk. All right, what are some impacts of mental illness? And suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the US and the second leading cause among people aged 15 to 34. Startling figure. We have a senator in our state that if you saw any of the impeachment hearings, he was one of the lead there, Jamie Raskin. Just before that, the January 6th thing, he lost his son. His son had been battling mental illness for many, many years. They thought he was doing fine. He was early 20s. And he left a suicide note that said, "Today, my illness got the better of me." So sad, so sad. So suicide is really, really a big issue. Serious mental illness costs in the US about $193.2 billion in lost earnings. And we talked briefly about that before. So not only is it your lost earnings, but it's lost earnings to other places you would have gone and you would have spent your money at. Mood disorders, including depression and bipolar disorder, are the third most common causes of hospitalizations for youth and adults, again, aged 18 to 24. So it's that age range, you know, it's young people, it's young people starting families and having this kind of stress and, oops, sorry, working on that. Increased risk of physical health problems such as heart disease, diabetes, and HIV. Again, if you're not thinking well, if you are depressed, if you're under a lot of stress, then you are not as likely to take care of yourself for these other physical aspects. You're not as likely to eat well. You're not as likely to go to the doctor. You're not as likely to test your blood sugar. You might do risky behavior, things like that. So that's how the two are related. US adults living with serious mental illnesses die on an average of 25 years earlier than others, largely due to treatable medical conditions. Think about that. So if our life expectancy is around 75 and it's fluctuates, you know, between like 74 and 76 or 79, they've decreased it a little bit this past year because of COVID, but we're going to just take an average of 75 years. If that's your average lifespan, and they're talking about 25 years earlier, that's talking about dying in your 50s. That's a young person. They should be out, you know, doing their things. If they had kids, their kids are just about grown. Maybe they're in college. So you've got time to do some things, maybe do a little traveling, but you can't do it because you're dead because of these things. Again, another startling statistic, I believe. I was asked to also talk specifically about COVID and COVID stress. And so that's what the next 4 or 5 slides are going to deal with. So a syndemic refers to multiple interrelated epidemics happening at the same time. And COVID has unleashed a number and amplified a number of simultaneous personal, social, medical, political, and economic crises. We've touched on all of these, how businesses shut down. So if they shut down, you have an economic crisis, you don't have money coming in. Look at the number of food pantries that were in operation, but had to increase the amount of families that they saw. You know, they were maybe doing 20 or 30 families a week. They went up to 300 and 400 families a week. Your social things, you couldn't see anybody, you couldn't hug anybody, you other than if you didn't know how to use Zoom or FaceTime, things like that, you didn't get to see your relatives, you didn't get to see your kids. Very, very stressful. You didn't take care of yourself medically. You may have had political differences with people. All of those contribute to stress, and they were all amplified by the pandemic. So what are some specific stress symptoms? Stress can cause the following feelings of fear, anger, sadness, worry, numbness, frustration. I think these were all things that most of us all felt during this pandemic at some time or another. In the beginning, I think most of us thought this would be over in a few weeks and then a few months, never ever thinking that it would go on for almost 3 years. So all of those things just built up in many, many people. Changes in appetite, energy, desires, and interests. We talked about how depression comes in, and how if you're depressed, you don't feel like eating correctly. Maybe you you've lost your appetite, so you don't eat enough, or maybe you're stress eating and you're eating all those wonderful carbs that we like. You don't have the energy. You don't want to get out of bed. Oh, I just don't want to face another day. I can't look at these walls again. Very, very difficult to make yourself get up and do things. You lose interest, or you've done your interests and you're bored of your interests. So you have to try to find a new interest. Difficulty concentrating or making decisions. That comes into, oh, well, you know, should I have a hamburger for dinner? Well, no, I had meat yesterday. Maybe I'll have soup today. Well, I don't know. I don't feel like anything. Just simple things, not being able to make decisions, let alone trying to make decisions on big things like, gee, my finances aren't very good. What should I do? You know, difficulty sleeping or nightmares. We talked about how important rest is and some things that you can do to help yourself get to sleep. I have heard many, many people talk about the fact that they have had much more vivid dreams during COVID, and some of those dreams turning into nightmares, but also dreams about conversations, talking to people, being with people. And I think that has been due to a lack of being with people, of having that one-on-one, that touch, that hug, and things like that. Physical reactions such as headaches, body pain, stomach problems, and skin rashes. Many of us have had skin rashes due to the masks that we were wearing. Body pains is a good one. If you're stressed, if you're depressed, and you have something that hurts, that pain is worse. That pain is amplified. If you have arthritis in your knees or your fingers or your hands or whatever, and you're depressed, your mind just goes to that pain, and it's just amplified. And the increased pain causes increased stress, which causes increased pain. So again, it's cyclic. It's just one thing after the other. I keep trying to move my cursor down, and then I lose it. Sorry about that. Worsening of chronic health problems and worsening of mental health problems. Again, if you're not following your diabetic diet, if you're not testing your blood sugar, if you're not taking your blood pressure, or you just forget to take your pills today. Oh, I don't want to take my pills today. Those all leads to worsening of our health problems. What if you were on some meds for your mental health? Again, you don't feel like taking them, you don't take them, those things get worse. Increased use of tobacco, alcohol, and other substances. I think when COVID started again, you know, people thought, oh, you know, we'll have a glass of wine or we'll have a drink at dinner. That's good. That helps, because COVID's going to be over soon. It'll be all okay. Oh, but then, you know, months went by, like, well, maybe I'll have a drink at lunch as well. Well, you know, hey, now it's afternoon. Well, instead of having afternoon tea, I think I'll have another drink. It's very easy to fall into these patterns where we're increasing the things that we shouldn't be increasing, and so they all are symptoms and results of stress. there are many ways to cope with stress. Take a break from watching, reading, or listening to news stories, including those on social media. Consider limiting news to just a couple times a day. Disconnect from the phone, the TV, and the computer screen. You don't need to watch every news channel 24/7. It's not a good thing. Pick a few programs that you like, watch those. It's also good to watch the opposite side of how you believe. Don't have to watch a lot of the opposite side, but it's good to know what they're saying. Don't put your head in the sand and not hear both sides. Take care of your body. Take a long, relaxing bath. Get some perfume soap. Put some perfume body lotion on you. If you have a spouse or a partner, have them give you a back rub. Just take care of yourself. Do something nice for you. We talked about breaths. Take deep breaths, stretch or meditate. When you've been at the computer, get up and move around. Take a deep breath. Stretch your arms way up and really pull them up and things like that. Increase that chest capacity. Give yourself more breath in there. You'll feel better because even those little things help those little endorphins in your brain I keep talking about. Try to eat healthy meals. That's really hard. You know, those nice carbs keep calling everybody. Exercise regularly. It is really, really important to exercise. And exercise doesn't mean going to the gym or, you know, a lot of people in my area, they had been going to the senior exercise classes. And when COVID came, those all stopped. But the senior citizens did them on Zoom. So they did their exercises at home on Zoom. I walk. I'm a walker. And I walk every morning about 8 o'clock with my neighbors and our dogs. And we go out and we walk the neighborhood. And then my one neighbor and I stay and we chit chat for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then I come in and I start my day and I do everything that I was supposed to be doing. And during the first couple of months of COVID, I was cleaning. I cleaned my hobby room down here. I took trash out. I took extra plastic bags. I was just a go-getter. And then kind of spring started to come and a little bit. And I thought, you really got to get back outside. This is no good to be sitting here all day long. And yes, I was getting things done, but it wasn't good. So I now every day between 3 and 3:30, I take myself back out. I make myself go and I go for another walk. Not as long. I don't stay out as long as I do in the morning because I'm not walking with anybody. So there's no chit chat. you just walk, but it makes a difference. It really does make a difference. So, and it's something that you may have to force yourself to do. If you don't have time for a long walk outside, walk in your house, go out in your driveway up and down a couple times, but just get out and do a little walking. Get plenty of sleep. I know that's easy to say. I know, and sometimes that's really hard to do. Try some of those other methods that we spoke about. Other ways to cope with stress, avoid the excess alcohol, tobacco, and substance abuse. Continue your preventive measures, such as your vaccinations, your cancer screenings, your mammogram. I was guilty of not doing my mammogram the first year. I didn't really want to go into a healthcare facility, even though we were wearing masks and everything was clean and everything. And I thought, I just don't want to be around a lot of people. But I really got a little concerned and I thought, well, you really need to do this. This is really important. So I went to my doctor, I called her, I got my slip and I took myself, got my mammogram. And it's just really important that you continue to do those kinds of things. Getting vaccinated with the COVID vaccine. We are very lucky here in the United States. We have about 70% of everybody is vaccinated at least by one shot. Not everybody is fully vaccinated, and we do have some people that are not vaccinated. We have to also remember that in the third world, people are not getting vaccinated. They don't have the supplies to get vaccinated. They don't have the equipment to get vaccinated. They don't have the means to get vaccinated. until we can get the rest of the world vaccinated to a higher degree that they are, we are going to continue to have this virus probably. Viruses are very unique in that when viruses replicate, they mutate, meaning they change. And we saw that because we had the original COVID, then we had Delta, then we had Omicron, and now we have BA2. We don't know how BA2 is going to react, whether it's going to be more contagious, cause more illness or not. We don't know what's going to happen with that. But one of the big reasons of that is we don't have enough total people vaccinated. So the virus itself is still mutating because it is replicating. And that happens for all viruses. It's not just COVID. The flu virus does the same thing and things like that. So they're working on another vaccine. They're working on a combination of a flu vaccine and COVID vaccine that may be ready in the fall. We're just going to have to see what prevails, what CDC says, and what you and your own doctor decide. Take time to unwind. Try to do some other activities you enjoy, and try something different. It is important to try something different. Connect with others. Talk with people you trust about your concerns and how you're feeling. Connect with your community or faith-based organization. I do see you have a hand, and I will get to you a question in a moment. Sometimes coping with stress or any mental illness leads to thoughts of suicide. And we've talked about suicide several times in this presentation. And it's just become so much more prevalent in the last 3 years. What can you do if you have these thoughts? Well, the first thing is to know that you are not alone. You are not alone. If you're really having severe thoughts of suicide, please call 911 immediately. Please get some help. Reach out to family, friends, a health worker, a spiritual provider, counselor, anyone at all. Just call somebody to get some help. This is the suicide prevention lifeline. You don't have to take this down. You'll be getting all these papers after the talk. But this is a really good number to have on hand. Hopefully you will never need it for yourself. You might need it for somebody else. And if it takes time to go look it up, it might be too late. I suggest you put this number in your cell phone and you have it with you. Here are some other resource numbers. Again, you don't have to worry about trying to copy these down. You will be getting this presentation, so you'll have this. But it's hotlines for child abuse, sexual assault, suicide prevention, those types of things. But I just wanted you to have more resources to be able to reach out. This is a self-care wheel. It talks about the psychological, emotional, spiritual, personal, professional, and physical. I know it's a little hard to read on this slide. Again, you will be getting this, you'll see it. But it just talks about some things that you can do for yourself. Psychological, they list self-reflection, therapy, journaling is something National FCE has had several programs about, and journaling is a really important thing and really helps a lot of people. Emotional affirmations. Tell yourself in the mirror when you get up in the morning that you're a good person and you're going to do a good thing today, because you are a good person. Spiritual, self-reflection, go into nature. That goes back into that walking. Wherever you walk, go do something nice, stop and smell the roses. Isn't that the phrase? Stop and smell the roses. Personal, learn who you are, figure out what you want to do, your goals. Even if you're elderly, there's still goals to do, how you want to live the rest of your life. Professional, we've had professional careers. If you're doing volunteer work, you're still acting as a professional. So some of these things may apply in that part of your life. Physical, of course, we talked about safe housing, about regular medical care, eating healthy, those kinds of things. So this is just something when you have the time to really go over and take a look at and see which of those you follow and which you might be able to add to your normal routine. And I have given you a whole lot of really heavy stuff. And I thought here at the end, I would give you some really lighter things to think about and reflect on what we had talked about. So I love polar bears. I just think they are a beautiful, beautiful animal. And here's a polar bear giving a wonderful hug to this Eskimo dog. And here's some dogs just trying to sit and say. Here's a good one you can show your grandkids. My granddaughter had no idea what this was. And then, of course, she didn't know how to use it. And haven't we all done this during COVID? Stand in the produce part of the grocery store and try to get that stupid little bag open. Even if you take and scrush it like this, a lot of times they still won't come open. Did you get your Christmas tree this year? I'm going with this guy. I think he's cute as a bug. This is actually in my yard. This is my butterfly bush, and this is some butterflies that visited me last year.
Jean, it's Jackie. Can I say something about the bags and the fruit and
Sure.
vegetable area?
Sure.
A lot of times they have the little sprayers that'll spray the fruits and veggies.
Yeah.
I always get my fingers just a damp wet, and that helps a lot.
Yes, it does. I agree with that.
just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, and like in our grocery store, they ding a little bit before they start spraying, so you can run over there and put your fingers under. This is San Diego. This is on Coronado Island, and this is my husband and I are in this gondola, and we were taking a gondola ride at sunset. And I just thought she or he was just beautiful. I just thought that was a beautiful picture. Here's your exercise. Go for a walk in nature, or better yet, a wagon ride. And here you are. You have just been hugged. You're right. You're not getting out of it. This is the start of a full-scale hug-a-war. So hug everybody you know, hug your friends, your enemies, hug everyone. And hopefully we can really start hugging soon. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. And if you have questions, if you've put them in the chat, we will take them in. I don't see anything in the chat right now. But if somebody wants to raise their hand, I will stop sharing this so I can see you at this point. If somebody has a question, you can unmute yourself and speak. You're all muted yet.
There is one up there from Debbie. So if Debbie can ask her question.
Yeah. Can you unmute?
I'm sorry, that was accidental.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that anxiety and depression tend to go hand in hand.
Yes, they do. Yes. There, I can see everybody now. That's better.
But sorry.
That's okay.
Good presentation.
Well, thank you.
Very good.
Everybody has been very, very stressful during this time, and you know, hopefully as things start to open up, then some of our anxiety levels and stress levels can go down. It's been tough. Many of us have lost loved ones or neighbors or friends due to COVID, so that adds to our stress as well. Okay. If you think of any questions while Artis is going on with the program, please just put them in the chat and I'll keep checking them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeannie. Very good presentation.
You.
Okay, while we're getting ready for the next couple of things that we wanted to talk about, I'm going to give you a 2-minute break so that we can get the next one online. And Connie, are you on here?
Yeah, Connie's there.
Yes, I am.
Okay, all right. So take a 2-minute break, get some coffee, some water, and do like Jeannie says, stretch and breathe.
Breathe. Stand up and breathe.
Yeah.
Jeannie,
Yes.
this is Connie. I found some new words in your word.
Oh,
word
okay.
search, whatever.
Cool.
Okay. First time around, I did smile. I made slime. And I
Yes.
was wondering how on earth you came up with slime to fit it.
Somebody found slime in the morning session too, Connie.
and I found, instead of listen, I found silent. Oh.
Judy, you got to unmute yourself if you want to talk to us.
No, I just was saying I found silent too, but it actually kind of goes with listen. You have to be
Yeah.
silent to listen.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
So sometimes silent is more peaceful.
Right.
Okay.
When we do our state conference, we actually have 5-minute little stretch breaks rather than getting everybody a 15 or 20-minute break, which we do too. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon, but we'll take a 5-minute stretch break, and we have somebody that actually gets up and leads a few little exercises. Some that you can see Pat doing there now too. Just stand by your chair and lift your leg and do things like that. But it really does help. It really, it wakes everybody up again, and you get the blood going, and you breathe. And it's really important to breathe. Get that oxygen flowing.
Okay, Jeannie, my local FCE has been meeting, but we didn't get our calendar full. So this is being recorded. We can use it for a lesson?
Sure.
Okay. I think we still have 2 times, September and October maybe, that we didn't have anything planned. I told them something would happen.
Something will always come up. Yep.
Right.
Go ahead, Judy.
One of our state lessons was on funeral planning. And we've had 3 members lose family members. So we decided we were not going to do that right away. We'll do it later, but we weren't going to do it right away. So
yeah. That's
we
probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will all be getting a copy of her lesson plus the PowerPoint as attendees. So that'll come out this next week. So you will have it to use. It is an FCL lesson, which is to do with leadership. And so if you want to use it in that category as an FCL and leadership lesson, you need to contact Connie Larrington, and she will get you the FCL certificate that you can give to your people at the state conference or your district meeting or something like that. So, and you just have to kind of follow the rules of presenting an FCL lesson. So, and you will find those in our, on the website underneath Family Community Leadership. They will have it there. So, but yes, you are going to all get this. So, because she did a very good job. So, okay, Connie, are you ready?
I am ready.
We're going to remove the spotlight from Jeannie. If I can remember to do this right. This is new. Scott left us. His grandson is playing in a championship basketball game tonight. And so I said, you are most welcome to go, because I just, that's very important. It's like part of that, getting to see your relatives. So, okay, we're going to more spotlight for. There you are, Connie.
Okay, wow.
More than you wanted, right?
That's right. I like conference calls better than Zooms.
We do not have the forms to put up for you because I don't have them, but everybody should have them. So tell them what you're going to do.
Okay, I'm Connie Larrington. I am Vice President for Public Policy on the National Board, and I am on the Family Choice Media Pledge Campaign Committee. I think each one of you should have a copy of the information that was sent out prior to the meeting. So do you, and if you have that, if you don't, you can pull it up. Do you remember back years ago, we had the Family Choice TV, April 5th pledge campaign, and where we were trying to get the rating systems for television programs so that our children would have good programs to watch, and so we would have that also. That's a program that we did get through the, what do we call it? The Federal Communications, and
yeah,
get all of
FCC.
that. Right?
Yeah, Federal Communications.
Yeah, okay. We got that. And so now we are working this year to do a pledge campaign on April 5th that we are encouraging our members to stamp out or just media campaign on April 5th. We're going to be tuning out violence and addiction to cell phones. Do you know any people that have their phone attached to their hands and their fingers are just kind of gripped? So, but anyhow, this is also for the addiction to cell phones, iPads, iPods, tablets, internet, television. And there are some people that can't get away from their phones because it might ding, or if it dings in church or it dings in a meeting or something. Anyhow, we're encouraging our people to make a conscious effort to avoid watching or listening to violent television, music, video games, or radio program on April 5th. They're not just saying you've got to do this every day, but we would like people to do it for one day just to see how it works. And for that day, we're encouraging each person to do something different other than be tuned to their internet or whatever. Maybe they can read a book. Maybe they can go fishing. April would be a good time to go fishing. Maybe they could play table games or outdoor games. Have you ever played? How long has it been since we've got together and played a game of cards with the neighbors? Go for a walk, visit a nursing home, or visit a friend that needs us. Cook something new, something different. Sort through old pictures. Maybe we can go through the drawers we haven't seen in our closets forever. Or maybe we can just spend some time playing with our kids or telling them about the olden days when I rode a covered wagon to school. And this is something, a way that maybe we can help parents and children to become more aware of the required rating systems on our televisions or on our other iPads or our tablets or something too. This is a way that we can support and promote the federal communications regulations, including the V-chip requirements. And I'm not terribly knowledgeable about the V-chip requirements because I am not a very technical person. The Citizens Task Force on Television Violence still monitors the ratings, so we can see the symbols on a lot of our TV shows, and I notice that quite a lot. And I appreciate having them there so that I kind of know what I'm going to expect. The pledge sheets, which you also got a copy of in your packet, are for you to take to your friends, take anywhere you want to, take them to church. Anytime you're around people, go up and down the street and get people to sign them, take them to your FCE meetings, or I don't know, just everywhere you go. And the pledge sheets, we need to be signed prior to the April 5th tune-out day media. because you want people to know that they can, that they want to have it done, and so that they've made this promise and pledge that they will tune them out that day. The individual in our group who collects the most pledges is going to win $100. Wow, what can we do with $100? The club and the county that collect the most pledges will be recognized at the national conference in July. And then all participants this first year of the campaign anybody who gets 500 signatures will receive a 2B pin. So there's quite a few incentives for us to try to do it, get them as many signatures as we can. After you get your sheets signed, you will send your sheets. Send the sheets to your state person who will be receiving those, and then they will send them on to our national FCE office so that we can get it all put together. All pledges must have an April 15th or earlier postmark to be eligible for the awards. The pledge sheets, you can make as many of those as you need, and the address for headquarters is on the bottom of them. You need to sign who collected the signatures. So are there any questions? Everybody knows exactly what you're doing and you're raring to go. This is April 5th is coming up pretty quickly. I did look on the calendar. It's on a Tuesday. And I think it's a good project for our FCE groups, our FCE people, to take this project into our communities and have people in our communities see something that we're doing. It's also will be good if we could get some publicity in our local communities so that the community will be aware when we approach them to sign, ask them if they would like to pledge to tune out violence on April 5th, that they know what we're doing. That doesn't give us a lot of time to get it done, but we can get, hopefully we can get a good program on this. Make ourselves known in our communities and approach our people and get a lot of signatures. Okay. Any questions? Okay, everybody's ready to go. Okay, back to you, Artis.
Thank you, Connie.
Okay.
Okay, there it is. Remove spotlight. Oh. Okay. No, 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 no. Jeannie, can you do a spotlight on me? It'll only let me come up with Ray names on myself.
I will certainly give it a shot. Spotlight for everyone.
Yeah, that's it. If
Spotlight
you're
for-
on my name, are you on my name? Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
All
Thank
right.
you, Jeannie.
Yep.
Okay, you got the information for what we are calling our new brochure contest. I know that some of you have entered this already. You sent them in for 2020. We came up with this. We needed some marketing ideas for extending to people to grow more membership. You know, we've been dwindling. We've been bringing in new members, which is wonderful. And I know there's a few new members on our Zoom thing this evening. And I really appreciate you guys signing up and coming on and learning about some things in National FCE. But after we sent it out, we didn't have conference in 2020. So I have held on to them. They are in my folder. And then, of course, in 2021, we did a Zoom conference. So we weren't able to have them be judged then either, because those that are sent in for this contest are to be judged by the attendees at conference. So this is a contest to promote membership, and it's open to all NAFCE members in good standing. An individual can do it, county can do it, club can do it, the state can do it, district can do it. It doesn't have to be a state project. This can be sent in by every individual that wants to. You do have some things that have to be in this brochure. And one of them is that it has to state the purpose of this organization and why someone would want to become a member of FCE. It's being sponsored by the National FCE Board, and we have donated $100 for the winning entry. The winning entry will become the property of NAFCE and will be used as one of the organization's marketing tools. Each contestant that does this has to send in 15 original brochures to the office by June 15th of this year. And then the board will choose the 10 best entries, and then they will have a final judging will be done at conference of those 10 entries. And they will be announced during the conference. And then you will have the 10 entries that are chosen will need to bring 15 additional brochures with them to conference also. We do reserve the right for whichever one is chosen to modify it if it needs to be for marketing. You also have a sheet of paper that I don't know if you can see this very well, but it's called the judging guidelines. Okay. This here contest is on our website if you need to get copies made of it, but your brochure must be 8.5 inches by 11, a regular sheet of paper, and then it has to be trifold so that it opens to the left. And when we talk about it opening to the left, this is how it would open when you're looking at it. So that on the front, it's going to have National FCE or whatever you put on there to portray that this is for the national organization. And then the other important thing is that the backside has to have the information for national and how people can get a hold of us, the hours that they're in the office, and our website and our email address. The rest of it up above, you can have whatever you want, or you can leave it as a space for your state information or your local information if you're going to use this in your city, in your community. So that is those are the things. The logo has to be on the front and visibly there. Contact information like we talked about on the back must be eye-catching. The brochure has to be easy to read, be creative. Mine is I just cut some things out of somewhere and I pasted it together because I didn't have time to make a brochure for us yet. So, but I wanted you to be able to see that it has to open like this, where you start with the front and open up, and whatever you put on the rest of it and on the inside is up to you, but it has to be benefits for FCE and why you want people to join us. It also needs to look like it's professional, and that there's no spelling errors, no grammar errors, and each brochure will be given different points and they will total up to 100. So the ones that are chosen, like I said, there will be 10 of them if we, that will be chosen, and they will be judged at the conference. And I just think, and there's a lot of programs on our computers where you can go in and design the brochure, or you can go on to, there's some other special software programs, and there's even some free ones. There's a Canva, I think it was called, or a Canva or something, and you can design your brochure from it. I know that our pastor at our church went in and designed a brochure for our church, and I asked her where it was from, and she said it was that program, but I don't remember. I think it's CAMA or something like that. But there is one that has a lot of ideas on there that you can work with also. So just take, and we know that there are very many creative people in our organization. So I am hoping we're going to come up with a lot of entries for this contest, and you get $100 just like the other one. So boy, if you were energetic and got all of those pledges and got that to be first place and you won this contest, you'd go home with $200 at conference. That would be wonderful. So so does anybody have any questions on this brochure contest? I can hear the wheels turning, so I'm expecting a lot of the things to come in. Okay. Just a few things before we close for the evening. You did get a slip, a handout that had a promotion on it for you for attending the winter break meeting. And it is that you can order as many hearth fires as you want. All you have to do is pay the postage. There are a few of them that we no longer have, and we won't be making them anymore. And there might be some of them that have a little bit of dated information, but you know, the hearth fires were designed to be small lessons for us to use, and you can easily take and expand on them. You can add information on it. You know, our internet services, our extension services, just colleges anywhere have a lot of good information that you can add to what our hearth fires have. So you can take and update it by using some of that information, but the basics are there for you to work with. There are even a couple of Spanish ones if you have Spanish people that you are friends with or in your club. That is items number 5 and 7. And these are great to use for schools, hospitals, clinics, social service offices, senior centers. How about taking a bunch to your district meeting, state conferences, local and county meetings? How about the food bank? You know, people come in and they get the product that they need from there, but maybe it'd be nice to give them some hearth fires, and especially pertaining to safe grocery shopping, the food, expanding their budget and how they can help themselves with it, using the food bank and other things. And there's one I thought on the safety of food and spoilage and things like that. So there's just a lot of things in there that you could use. How about the welcome baskets that some of the chambers give out? You could give them to them. And maybe you need to give a gift for your neighbor, a thank you. How about sticking one of them in there that would pertain to her? There are just many ways that you can use this. The cost of them, nothing for the hearth fire itself, from items 1 through 71, except for there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 or 11 of them that are no longer available. The numbers are on the sheet that I gave you, or else they're on the website underneath catalog. The postage costs are, the small priority box is $8.90.25, excuse me, and it will hold 50 of the hearth fires. The flat rate priority envelope is $7.75, and it will hold about that many also. And then the medium priority box is $14.25, and it will hold up to 400 hearth fires. You can't beat that, ladies. $14.25 for 400 hearth fires. So you really can work with those and especially if you have conferences coming up or things like that. So, and then when you're placing your order, you just need to tell Judy the code, which is WBM, so that she knows that you were an attendee and this is a promotion for you to order these. And she is in the office on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And you can email it in to her, but then you need to call her and give her the credit card that you want to use to pay for the shipping. Or if you're going to send a check or some other means, then you and her will have to determine how you're going to do that. Just contact her by phone though, as to how you're going to pay for it. The other handout that you were given was an evaluation. We tried this event and we were excited to put this on. I know there was only a few of us that were presenting this evening, but I'll tell you what, we couldn't have done any of it without the whole board behind us. It is, our board is really an asset to us. They help through all of the things that we have to do. We have been doing Zoom meetings for the last year and a half so that we can take and keep up with things because we haven't been able to meet in person. So that's how we've been doing that. But I want to thank the board very much. And I know that most of the board members have attended one session or the other, and I really appreciate that. A couple other things that you need to know about is National Conference. It is going to be July 14th through the 17th in Portland, Oregon, at the Monarch Hotel, which is located in Clackamas. I forgot my words. And that's just a little ways out of Portland, but we do have airport shuttle and complimentary parking if you're driving. We will have to follow CDC, State of Oregon, and the hotel's guidelines for COVID. So that we may be having to wear masks, we do not know, but we definitely will have hand sanitizer and disinfectant wipes and things like that in our conference office, in the classrooms, all of those kind of places. And the hotel did say that they had numerous places of sanitizing stations also. If you go on the website, you can go to the conference file category on the website, and it does tell you about the hotel on there. It'll tell you the costs. It'll tell you when you have to make your reservations by, and other things. There's several amenities listed there. Does tell you how to connect with the hotel and getting the airport shuttle. And there are refrigerators in the rooms, but we have no microwaves. But that is a good thing to have a refrigerator. And then the couple other things I want you to know about is make sure you check our calendar on the website. It gives you your dates of when you have to have things in, like the essay contest, the Heart of FCE, some of our other programs like the Community Service Award, the Open Brochure Contest, and the Outstanding Service Award, program awards, things like that. It has all those dates in there. Plus it tells you when we have special things coming up, like Family Week, Family Day, things like that. So just make sure you check the website because it has all of that on there for you. And always check our website because we try to put the latest things on there for you. Sometimes we're not able to get everything emailed out, so we put it on the website so that you will have it timely. Scott and Judy are very, very good at doing that for us, and they are always taking care of it for us. So, and if you have a question about the website, please email it to Judy or contact Scott. He is glad to hear about anything that we need to fix on there because not all of us catch everything all the time. That is about all that we have. Do you guys have any questions? It looks like there's
Nothing in the chat.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Wait.
what about the chat? Do we have?
We answered it. Everything's,
Okay, good.
there's nothing new in the chat.
All right, perfect. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? You can unmute and talk to us now.
Is there a deadline for when we need to have the purchase of the hearth fire lessons?
We didn't set a deadline, but I would say, within the month, we don't want to go too far out, so, but yeah. So if you kind of have to, figure it out with other people of your estate, your county or whatever. But yeah, we hadn't set a deadline, but just have to remember to use that code when you're ordering to know that you were an attendee. So.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure, I really didn't introduce myself. I suppose maybe I should do that. A lot of you know who I am, but I'm Artist Snyder and I am the national president until after conference. Then you will have a new one by the name of Judy Fulmer. She is our president-elect. So we will be having a new one. So I thank you all for being members of FCE, attending things that we've had for you. Last year, we had our conference on Zoom, which was very well attended. And we enjoyed having everybody attend that also. So any other questions? Anything I can help you with, or one of the board members, because we have several of them on here this evening. This has been recorded. So was the earlier one that we did at 1 o'clock. Scott will be getting that out to us and he'll probably be putting it on the website too. He usually does that when we have something like this. So you can, if you want to listen to a portion of it or you had a question on something, you can easily go to the recording and see what was said at this meeting.
Thank you.
If not, you're welcome to leave.
Okay.
And enjoy the rest of your evening.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Artist.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good
night.
night. See you all. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.